Police are now trying to protect themselves from crappy driving after calls for better protection for emergency workers who kill or injure members of the public. The call comes in the wake of former Sussex Police Constable Louie Wellfare, who appeared at Brighton Crown Court last week where he was cleared of causing serious injury by dangerous driving. I mean, I might be wrong, but surely if a court found him not guilty, then that's all the protection they need, isn't it? As long as you follow the rules and procedures set out, then you shouldn't need additional protection. Welfare was on a call-out in a marked Sussex police car when it crashed into a man walking in Bear Road, Brighton, on July 17, 2019. The man, named by his family as Andy Gunn, sustained serious leg injuries and was taken to hospital. However, Welfare's appearance at Brighton Crown Court was in front of a jury, and of course we couldn't let a jury decide the fate of ex-PC Welfare, could we? I mean, the jury couldn't be capable of making the right decision all by themselves, and so the judge actually directed the jury to find the defendant not guilty. I'm not quite sure how that can even be allowed, seeing as a jury is supposed to be impartial, be made up of impartial peers deciding on the evidence of the case, and if a judge has to step in and direct them to find him not guilty, then maybe the evidence wasn't quite in his favour to the degree of no reasonable doubt. But what do I know? The Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Bill already puts forward an amendment which will compare a police driver to a peer with a similar level of training rather than a member of the public. Ex-PC Welfare said, "For me, I want to make it clear that the only person who has suffered through this is the chap Andy Gunn, who got the leg injury. It was horrific, awful, horrible accident, and he has done nothing to deserve that. But I think this case is a really strong example of why we need this protection bill and why we need it sooner rather than later. Otherwise, every police officer and every blue light drive is leaving themselves open to prosecution for dangerous driving. How can that be right when you're responding under different circumstances?" Well, for a start, ex-PC Welfare, we very rarely hear of fire engines or ambulances running people down. Occasionally they might have a prang, but again, this is rarely heard of. But police, on the other hand, we hear of them having not just accidents, but causing serious injury and death on an all too often basis. This bill would practically take away anyone's right to justice should they be injured or lose a loved one in this way. The Police Federation hopes the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Bill will be passed by September. It is currently in its final stage, which is royal assent, having been through the House of Commons and the House of Lords. Which means those of you who can get out there and protest to stop this should be ramping up your campaigns. Tim Rogers, Police Federation driver training lead, has been campaigning since 2015 for the change to legislation which currently treats police officers under the same lens as anyone driving. He says officers get trained to do their job. They get a series of intense training courses that enables them to use their vehicle in a way that ordinary members of the public aren't expected to. Which to me suggests that they should be less likely to have accidents, injure and kill people, surely. He added, the perverse aspect of that is that when they do use that training, every time they do that, it leaves them vulnerable to prosecution because they are judged by the standard of a normal member of the public. When it does sadly go wrong and there is an injury or death, that officer will be liable to a charge of dangerous driving for which there is no exemption, and that has been happening for years. Officers should have the confidence if they go out and perform as they have been trained. There should be no adverse outcome for them. The same for if they drive outside of that training and fail to reach the standards that would be expected, they commit the offence and fail to reach the standard of competent police drivers. So there is that protection for the public. But again, surely if they hit, injure or kill somebody, then there is a likelihood that they have driven outside of that training. As I said earlier, emergency response driving training is given to ambulance and fire services too. But we rarely hear of these other services injuring or killing people. So why do the police come to our attention all too often? Could it be that because, as we see in every other aspect of policing, they believe they are above the law and have the backing protection from the police force, the Police Federation, and a practically unlimited pot of taxpayers' money to pay their legal bills, leaving the police officer in a frame of mind that they can do what the fuck they want? A Home Office spokeswoman said police drivers play a vital role in the fight against crime, apprehending suspects and saving lives, often driving in high-pressure situations. Because of this unique role, we are changing the law so that police officers involved in road accidents have their driving skills assessed against that of a competent police constable with the same training, rather than a standard driver. Ultimately, public safety is our number one priority, and if a police officer is judged to have driven inappropriately, then they must be held accountable like anyone else. Fire and ambulance services play just as vital a role as police, and in many cases more so, because police can gather evidence in many cases and find the culprit. Well, if they can be bothered to. But fire and ambulance are dealing with almost life-threatening incidents on practically every blue light run. But again, there is rarely any reports of these services killing or injuring people. I think this is another dangerous addition to the police's tool belt, giving them more false confidence to go out and do what the fuck they like. Big thank you to channel supporters, especially these guys. Your support is truly appreciated. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials.